Hello, guys. Death of an employee at EY is the news that is spread across all the social media and all the working professionals and corporates and industry, and everybody's talking about it. And Anna Sebastian, who was the CA from Kochi, she had got a job in EY Pune, and she had joined EY in March 2024. And unfortunately, within four and a half months, she succumbed to work pressure or the physical exhaustion, or rather than work pressure, let us say physical exhaustion, and she died in the hospital on the way to the hospital. So the point here is why such things are happening is very important, because this video specifically is neither to support Anna nor to blame UI, or neither to support EY and blame Anna. We are just trying to understand the aspects which may have contributed to these things, and if we can understand about these factors, we can certainly make sure that these things cannot be repeated again. Because Anna Sebastian losing her life and that news spreading in the media is because her mother wrote a letter to MD and Chairman Rajiv Mimani, and that is why we are talking about this. But unfortunately, if Anna's mother had not written this letter to the MD and Chairman, it was not published it does not go viral in social media, I'm sure we may not have known about what happened to Anna at EY. So these aspects are very important. This is not only applicable to Anna, but to all of us, including the freshers specifically, because as long as all the aspects are considered before we start our careers, I'm sure we may have to pay price for lack of awareness about these aspects, and that is exactly why we are trying to discuss all these pointers. So I can immediately think about two or three or four pointers which may have contributed to this situation. The first thing is, on our side, I think the biggest point here is homesickness may have played a very important role, because she came from Kochi at the age of 24, and this was her first trip to Pune, first trip in the sense professional to Pune, and this was first time she was staying out of the home. I'm not confirmed about this, but this is what she was certainly feeling homesick from her mother's interviews and her friends' interviews, and she was missing her family and friends in Kochi. So basically, homesickness may have played a role, because you see all the friends and all the relatives and the neighbors and the support system that we have developed or nurtured in Kochi, she must have missed them in Pune, especially after being alone and working with a company like UI, wherein, again, the next point, homesickness may have played a very important role, wherein you feel lonely, you feel sad, you feel frustrated, and work pressure is immense. So it may have contributed. The second point is career induction. Now, important point here is, any fresher or anybody for that matter, when he or she is starting the career, I think it is very important, based on my personal experiences and mistakes that I've made in my career, it is very important to understand what I'm supposed to do for 35 years in my career. What can be typical growth stages? What can be typical obstacles? I'm not talking about any specific industry or any specific company. It is generic. I'm talking about what kind of growth stages are there. For example, I can be individual contributor for some time. I can be team member for some time. I can be team leader for some time. Then I can be given regional responsibility for some time. Then I can be I can have national responsibility for some time. All these aspects. So managing, doing the things on your own and then getting things done. I think these growth stages are very important. And as a fresher, if we can know about all this while starting the career itself, I'm sure it can add an immense value in planning or looking at things, looking at obstacles coming in the career from a very different perspective. So this career induction is important. It is not only about career growth rates, but also about career etiquettes, also about office politics, also about all other aspects related to careers, career transitions. It can be marriage, relocation, demotion, promotion, work pressure, good boss, bad boss, ugly boss, etc., etc. How do we manage these transitions? Death of a near and dear ones. All these points are very important. Understanding of human behavior, understanding of physical body language. Now, my point is, am I asking all of freshers to know all these things at the start of the career? Of course not. It's not possible. But we must keep our eyes and ears open to understand and learn and educate ourselves, so that we steadily move in this direction, wherein we can reduce the friction. We can reduce the friction or the loss, the cognitive loss, as much as possible. So this career induction was important. I'm not sure whether Anna had got information about all this, or I'm not right judge. I'm not commenting on it, but not only for Anna, but for all the freshers, if they can understand what they're going to do in the next 35 years. I'm not talking about designations or roles. I'm talking about general stages that typically come in all the careers across the globe. We must understand what those aspects are, and I'm sure it will help us. Then there is important aspect of saying no and setting boundaries. especially for freshers, saying no is very important. In Anna's case, I think her supervisor or manager kept on pushing a lot of work at her, and she kept on working as much as possible to the point of where exhaustion became a norm in her daily life. I think her mother or also a friend has said that when she used to reach home at a paying guest at PG, she used to sleep without even changing clothes sometimes. So that kind of exertion, if a person is employees experiencing, I'm sure there are problems, and the problems can be on the manager side at the same time. Even and a person like a fresher must have the confidence, must have the guts to say that, sir, this is not my job, and even if it is, I will do it tomorrow. That confidence has to be there, because ultimately losing life over this is not at all advisable when you can say no and get move on. If at all you get fired because of your because you're not listening to your bosses, then obviously you can get better job, you can get next job, you can get other job. That's not a problem. But saying no and setting boundaries is very, very important. Saying no is basically to work that is not in our kitty or not in our bucket, and saying no at the right time. Once you start following all the directions given by manager, it becomes difficult at a later stage to say no. Setting boundaries also means not only related to work, but also related to personal behaviors. It is very important, especially for girls. I'm not saying especially why, because only because they are there can be a lot of other aspects which typically working female as to suffer in the workplaces, including sexual harassment. It is not only applicable for women but also for men. But all these aspects are very crucial. Setting boundaries, a person can maybe have a go at you in a banter, as a part of banter, but he cannot start insulting you. He cannot take you for granted. All these aspects are important, and setting boundaries and saying no at the very start helps a lot. Though the other person understands us beyond a point, I will not be able to pressurize him or her. So setting boundaries and saying no is very important. Unfortunately, freshers typically tend to be fearful about the fact that if I say no to my boss may not take it lightly and I may get fired. That is a possibility, obviously, but then only because I am afraid of getting fired, I cannot accept anything and everything that is being thrown at me. That is exactly what I think happened in Anna's case. The supervisor and manager kept on pushing all the work towards her, and she was unable to say no, because of which ultimately she got into physical and mental exertion. So obviously, and this is not about blaming Anna, but also to understand what situation must she have gone through. Then the next point is seeking help. She might have, I'm not sure whether she sought help from her seniors, supervisors, mentors, not from EY, others outside EY, from family members, neighbors, etc. So I think seeking help, in my personal opinion and experience, seeking help is very important. I may have been a very different person if I had sought help at the right time before 20 years. So it's my personal experience also that you must go to people who have already done this, who already know about it, and who are in position to help you and who are willing to help you. So all these aspects are very important. I can always go to people who have already worked in EY, company like EY, and ask them about the work culture. Is it suitable to me? And if at all it's not suitable, what can I do? All these aspects can be discussed. I'm sure she must have done it, but seeking help is very important at the right time. And just like I said, understanding what we are getting into is very important. If I'm joining Big Four, there's certain image in the industry that if you are at Big Four, that means you are working for 14 to 16 hours per day, 7 days a week. And that is why you are a superstar. This is why you are earning so much money. Unfortunately, this is the bad trend, toxic work culture, toxic trend that is setting in. So I think we need to manage it, especially after Corona. People are very aware of the work-life balance. Work-life balance is a very broad term, but people are very well aware of spending time with family and taking care of their bodies and families. So spending time with loved and near and dear ones is very important. In this case, I think when somebody is joining Big Four, it must be understood that we will have to work for 14 to 16 hours. And if I say no to 14 to 16 hours, somebody else will replace me. Now, this has been a problem with the workplace, and I'm sure government regulations and compliance issues can be taken care of. But it needs to be executed to the letter of the spirit of the letter. So I think these were some of the aspects which may have gone wrong. This was on the personal side. On the organization side, the company culture, when, for example, in this specific case, EY is a brand, it is a matter of parent organization, and there are multiple partners who are providing services to their clients. Now, partner is the decision maker who will decide who will be my team member, how many people will I recruit, how many clients I will have, and how can I generate more and more business and revenue, and how I will share the profits with the UI. Now, unfortunately, the problem here is, let us say, for example, I'm a partner and I have 10 clients, and the 10 clients need 50 hours per day. Sorry, 500 hours per week for managing these 10 clients. Then obviously I will do the reverse calculation by saying that how many people do I need now, considering 8 hours per day. Let us say X amount, 10 people are required. For example, 10 people are required. So what I'll do basically is I will hire 10 people or 8 people. Out of 8 people, two will be my cronies, two will be my offloaders who will entertain me, who will keep me entertained, who will say, yes, sir, we are very, very nice, but they will not work. The remaining 6 or 8 people will be given all the work, because if my team is 10 people, 2 people are useless, and 8 people will be doing work of 10 people when the actual work given to them is for 16 people. Let me repeat. So if I have 10 people in my team, 2 people are all typically useless chunko types. So I have actually 8 productive people, but whereas to utilize all these 8 people, I will take the work of for 16 people, so that 8 people will do the work of 16 people. Two employees will be just roaming here and there, starting their assets. And this is not about gender. I'm talking about general. So all these aspects, and unfortunately, these 8 people will be put under tremendous pressure to finish the job that was supposed to be taken care by 16 people. This is how typically 14 to 16 hours, 18 hours work per day, work hours are get generated, and this is how the trend becomes a norm, and the norm becomes regulation, verbal regulation. So calling employees on Saturdays and asking them to submit report in 2 hours, calling employees on Sunday evening and asking them to submit drafts or report in 30 minutes is the typical work culture that we can see in all these so-called MNCs and so-called brands. This is the problems, and unfortunately, the partner is deciding who will be my HR, who will be my project manager, who will be my juniors, etc., etc. And that is why there is no, the EY will be monitoring partners, and partners will take care of team. So there is a silo basically created under these partners, and that is exactly why there can be no direct control of EY on the employees, because partner is sitting there. Now, the other aspect, the side effect of all this is, over a period of time, they have followed this practice, and now they have reached a stage wherein they have dehumanized resources. For them, Nilesh or Anna or XYZ is not a person; it's a billable resource. So I'm a resource A, Anna is resource B, somebody else is resource C. So it goes on. And just to give example of using the same example, just to finish the work given by 10 clients, which is equivalent to the work of 16 people, 8 people like me, or me plus 7 people are working on those lines. And then obviously for the partner or the manager looks at me as a billable hour. So as long as I'm working 16, 18 hours to match the expectations of the client and the timelines, he's happy, because then he is basically exploiting all the employees to the maximum extent, and by at the same time saving money on other employees and meeting the customer demand. So this is how dehumanizing has evolved over a period of time. So for them, I am a billable hour, nothing more. If I'm unhappy, if I'm sad, if I'm getting married, if I'm not feeling well, if I'm not at all in office, still I'll have to keep on working. For them, I'm a robot basically. 14, 16, 18 hours per day is their right. They own me basically. That kind of situation, that kind of mentality these people have. So dehumanizing the workplace is the biggest problem in these companies. Since I'm a billable resource. Now, one more peculiar aspect that I have seen in my previous organizations also. Some of the organizations treat employees or they convey the message to the employees that they are doing a favor on the employee by recruiting them. So what I'm saying is, since the employee is using the brand name, the logo on the visiting card, the companies say that we are doing a favor to you by giving an opportunity to work for us, because based on the experience with us, you will get a better opportunity in the jobs and careers, and you will grow. So this making a favor to you is the attitude that typically these companies carry, because of which they are always at the higher pedestal, and they will always look down upon you and treat you as a billable resource, nothing more than that. And the last point here is, I'm sure government of India also has decided to look into the matter and trying to find out what the company laws say, and what the regulations can be there, what complaints can be mentioned, etc., about working hours. about the pressure, about the KRAs, and about the ill effects of all these office politics and all these aspects of dehumanizing workforce, keeping them away from the families and exploiting them to the maximum hilt. So these aspects, I'm sure, will work, and very soon we will. I believe, I expect we will very soon see some action on this. There is a very specific trend going across the globe: is right to disconnect after 6 o'clock, after office hours. The employee must have the right to disconnect. The boss may have called, the boss or the organization may try and reach him, but it will be on request mode. They cannot demand. So, and if the employee is not connecting, if the employee is not picking up, if the employee is not responding, then obviously they cannot take any action. Neither they can be vindictive towards the employee, and that can be seen in the boss's behavior and organization's behavior towards the employee. So all these aspects we must understand. I'm not at all saying that one employee is right or wrong and the company is right or wrong, but we together, obviously it is a mutually beneficial relationship as long as we are taking care of each other, and that is exactly what we should be looking at. I'm sure a lot of things can be learned from this, and I hope we will learn all these things from this unfortunate incident, and may God bless and our soul, and rest allow her to rest in peace. Important point is, may God bless and now with an opportunity to enlighten us in the way the companies work, the employees behave, the employees are exploited, the companies get monitored, the dehumanizing resources, etc., etc. I'm sure it should help, and let us see how things go. Thank you very much.